Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today I am going to be continuing my series on Platoon Commander Deluxe, the Battle of Kursk. This is a Flying Pig game, and it is designed by David K. Van Hoos. It's a Mark H. Walker game, and this is part of my Flying Pig February series. And this is the third part, and probably at least the final part for the base game. I may do a Tracks in the Mud scenario as well. That is to be decided. So, with two previous parts in this, and part one was basically an infantry scenario that kind of displayed and highlighted the various mechanics and rules and so forth for how the game actually works. The second part was the first three turns of scenario 11A, which is the first part of the Battle of Prokhorovka. And this is the second part of that. So this is part 3, but part 2 of that scenario 11A playthrough. This will cover turns 3, 4, and 4, 5, and 6, the last 3 turns of the scenario. So if you haven't watched that, I would advise you to do so because I am going to jump right in here. We are in turn number 4. First phase is the Determine Initiative phase. The Germans have had initiative the first 3 turns. We are going to roll. I will roll for them first. They roll a 4. We will now roll for the Soviets. They roll a 9. So the Soviets, for the first time, will have initiative. So with the Soviets having initiative, we will now go to the draw action card phase. And just to kind of recap, here are the 2 cards that they currently have. The Schmert Faschistum, which allows them to raise the morale of all their units by 1 point. Their base morale is 3, so this would give them a morale of 4 for the remainder of that turn, and it can be played in the rally phase. They also have the Niet card, which can be played at any time and negates the last German card played, and it must be played immediately after the German card is played. So for these, I've been using an odd-even system in when the Germans play a card, and this is the same if the Germans had the counterpart to that card, which is 999. That would I roll 1 die. If it's odds, they don't use the card. If it's even, they do, because I am playing both sides, and this is a 2-player game. These are the German cards. They have Gegenfeuer, which means the Soviet player must discard all artillery cards in their hand. So I will roll for this one, because after the cards are drawn to see if, basically, as the German player, they would not know if the Soviets have any. This would allow them to play this to make them discard them whether they have them or not. Artillery barrage and an airstrike. So the both of those, airstrike is only fire phase. Artillery barrage can be fire or movement. So we can kind of use that almost as like opportunity fire essentially. But to get back to the matter at hand, 2 cards for each side. So 2 for the Germans, 2 for the Soviets. The white cards are the bonus cards. They're just extra cards for the deck. The Germans get another artillery barrage and an op fire. So conduct opportunity fire marker status is unchanged. This allows you basically to do op fire twice with the same unit. And as for the Soviets, they draw Hidden Minefield, played by Assault Combat Defender. So this is in the assault, and it shifts the odds 1 column to the left. So when they are defending in an assault, they can get a 1 column shift to the left. And partisans, select and discard a random card from the German player's hand. So that's actually a good one that can be played in any. So I will roll for this as well. So we're going to get right into it here, and we are going to go on to the rally phase. So up here at the top, we have a bunch of disrupted units. And we'll do the Soviets first since they have the initiative. So we'll start here. So we are going to play our Schmert Faschistum. This card here will give them a morale of 4. So we'll play that one. So they need a 4 or less to undisrupt, or recover rather, rally this unit here. So we'll roll a 4. So they are successful there. Here we will roll both of, actually there's only 1 there. So we will roll again, another 4. That one goes away as well. We'll roll again for this one, which is, that's a German. So we'll wait on that one. Here's Soviets. We have 2 here, and they're both disrupted. So we'll do the T-70 first. A 3, so the T-70 is good. Now we'll do the T-34. And throw the die across the table, and they get a 9. So the T-34 remains disrupted. The T-70 is not. Now we'll do the Germans. Their morale is 5. They do not have a card that improves their unit's chances, but their morale 5. That's good. They're done. Now we'll do this guy here, Panzer IV, that's been reduced. A 3, also good. And finally, our other Panzer IV, a 1, also good. So only one unit was left disrupted for the turn. And we will now move to the fire phase. But before that, we will roll to see if the Soviets will use this card. Again, odds no, evens yes. Odds, they do not play it. Now we'll do the same for the Germans with the Gegenfeuer. If they get an even, they will play this, even though we know the Soviets don't actually have an artillery card. We're going to play this anyway. 2, so they're going to play it. Sorry, Fritz. Ivan doesn't have any artillery cards. So that is that, and we will go now to the fire phase. So the fire phase, Soviets have initiative. They will get to choose first who they attack if they choose to do so, which they likely will. And then the fire phase alternates. Fire attack by fire attack will swap sides. So Soviets will go first, then the Germans, then back to the Soviets, and so on and so forth, until everybody has either fired or passed and decided not to fire anybody else. And that is how this will work. So Soviets get to go first. I just realized I missed a disrupted unit here for the Soviets right here. So I'm going to roll again for that guy right there. That is a T-34. And it's a 5, so he remains disrupted. So they have 2 disrupted units here. What I'm going to do actually is I have my 2 T-34s here. I'm going to fire up the spine because, actually no, that won't work because they're on a higher elevation. So let us use this T-34 will attack. He's going to attack this Panzer III right here. So we're attacking the Panzer III that is reduced. So it's a 4. It's an 8 firepower against a 2 defense, which is a 6. They're adjacent. So it's short range, which gets a 1 column shift to the right. So that would move that 6 to an 8. And there's no terrain modifier. So the 8 column is pretty strong in favor of the attacker. So we're going to roll. We get a 4, and a 4 in the 8 column is 3 hits. So the Germans have 3 hits. 1, 2, 3 dice will be rolled here. Dice, rather. 3 dice. 5 or less negates. All 3 are less than 5. All 3 attacks fail. So they shrug those off, basically, and they get a fired marker. I could have re-rolled there, but I didn't. I want that focus marker to actually flip back to its double side. I'm going to slide this guy back underneath because I prefer to have my 4 on top. All right, so now we switch over to the Germans. They get to fire. Now, this is an interesting thing here because in an ideal world, I would want to... well, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to attack here. So we have an 8 attacking. He's got a 4, so that's going to be a 4. We're adjacent, so we're going to get that column shift. But we're also going to get an additional 2 columns for the other unit there. So that 4, the 4 here, because this is an 8 and that's a 4, that's going to get shifted 3 columns to the right because of the additional fire from our other Panzer IV and the fact that they're adjacent. So that moves it all the way up to the 10 column here. So the 10 column is pretty strong. If we can roll a 3 or less, that would be ideal. And we get a 5. So a 5 here is 4 hits. So we get 4 hits. So we're going to roll 4 dice for the Soviets. They need a 4 or less. They get 3 hits and only negate 1. So 3 hits on a unit Well, first one disrupts, second reduces, third eliminates. So he's gone, and his aid marker goes out of play and can be returned to play on the next. You don't destroy an aid focus marker or an aid marker. That was a focus marker. They come back into play later on. So that was a successful fire attack for these guys. They're both fired now. We go back to the Soviets, and they can now perform another fire attack. And you know what? They might as well do it. They've got two KV-1s here. They're going to fire at our... Should they fire at... They'll fire at this Panzer IV right here in the hex with the Panzer III. He's got a 4 armor with a -1 die roll modifier. They're going to have 8. Get a column shift. So 8 minus 4 is 4. It's going to be the same thing, basically, as what we just had. It's going to be in the 10 column. Going to be in the 10 column, so we're going to roll 1 die. We got an 8, and an 8 in the 10 column is 4 hits. I believe they have the aid. Yeah, they have the aid marker. So that's not going to help them. So 4 hits for the Germans to deal with. They need a 5 or better, so they negate 1, 2, 3 of them. They got a 2, a 1, a 1, and a 6. So one of the hits is good. The Panzer IV is now disrupted. So I'll put him on the bottom and put the Panzer III on top. We mark our KV-1s as fired. Back to the Germans. Now we are in the fire phase, so it is airstrike time. So here's our airstrike card. Conduct an airstrike. Okay, so we're going to use the Stuka. Here's our Stuka. It's got a 12 armor attack. These are all armored units. There are no leg units in this particular scenario. And so airstrikes attack 2 adjacent hexes. So a hex and a hex next to it. So we're going to attack this hex and this hex. So we're hitting our KV-1s with their big gold 8 armor, their heavy armor, and then we're also going to hit these 2 T-34s here as well, one of which is already disrupted. So it works just like a regular fire attack, except you ignore some of the things. Some of the modifiers are a little different. So the way this works is pretty straightforward. Airstrikes use the appropriate firepower, so that would be the APF for armored piercing. They attack both units in the hex, even if one's hard and one's soft. They're all hard, so they're going to attack both targets in both hexes. Airstrikes are always considered flanking fire, and with flanking fire, you actually get a column shift to the right. So that 12 is going to get, the column will get shifted to the right by 1. They don't receive any cover modifier for being on a hill, and they get regular terrain effect charts column shift. So they're basically in clear terrain. There is no column shift there. So they're basically exposed. If there's more than one unit in the hex, shift it another column right. And they may reduce or eliminate a hard or soft target. So artillery cannot... artillery strikes, and you'll see those in a bit, they're a little different. They can actually only destroy or reduce or eliminate a hard target, an armored target, if they roll a critical hit. So we'll talk about that in a little bit when we actually do a barrage. So before we do this, I have to roll to see if they're going to play their Niet card, which they should in this case. But I'll roll it anyway. They get a 5, which means they don't use it. So we're going to go through with our artillery strike. I think in reality, they probably would have used that card there. But as I said, I'm trying to keep my own personal biases out of this and just let the dice decide to some extent as much as possible. So we'll attack the KV-1s first. So they are going to they have 8 armor. So 12 minus 8 is 4. But we get 2 column shifts, so that becomes an 8. So we're attacking in column 8. We rolled an 8, which is good roll for the Soviets because an 8 in column 8 is 3 hits. So even if we hit with all 3, we won't eliminate any of those tanks. We'll just end up reducing one of them. And we get a 0 and a 6 and a 6. So that's only 1 hit. So we're gonna disrupt one of the KV-1s. So I'll put that on the bottom one. And they still fired. And then we're going to hit this guy next. So in this case, the armor is a 4. So 8 minus 4, 12 minus 4 rather, is 8. And we shift it 2 columns. It goes into column 12. So again, we roll 1 die. Column 12, another 8. So that's going to be 4 hits. 4 hits. And so now we'll roll for our 4 hits. And again, the 1 T-34 is already disrupted. So we got a 2. So that removes 1 hit, but we also got a 7, a 9, and a 5. And I just realized I screwed up because I read that backwards, and actually both of the KVs are disrupted. I just realized that because I had 2 6s and a 1, so only 1 was reduced. In this case, I have a 2 and 3 hits. So 3 hits applied equally will just end up disrupting both and reducing both. So that's how that works. Although, yeah, we'll just do it that way. So they're both reduced, and our Stuka flies off. He's done. He's done his mission. Fairly successful. That is our attack. There in this round, we go back to the Soviets. And honestly, looking at what I'm seeing here, I'm thinking they may not do another fire attack here because they might want to wait and use movement and see if we can get some close assaults going. So they're going to hold off. They're not going to do another fire attack. The Germans will likewise pass because I want to set up for a fire attack myself. Although it is tempting. Yeah, I'm going to hold off here, and we're going to just go right into the movement phase. So the movement phase here in turn number 4, it works, or the movement phase in general in this game works where one side moves all its units, then the other side moves all its units, and that's how it works. So the Soviets, having initiative, will get to move first. Now, none of the units at the bottom of the map, and they're all German essentially, except for a couple of T-70s that are sitting on the B8 hex, which is an objective hex. The objective hexes, just to kind of refresh, are B8, E4, and F4. So those are these two. There's J2, which is up here, and J8, which is down below. So right now the Soviets hold 3 of those 5, and the Germans hold 2 of them. So we will move on to the movement phase here. So we're going to move this guy up, and that's going to trigger opportunity fire. But instead of using opportunity fire, I'm going to use my artillery barrage because I have 2 of them. So I will use my artillery barrage for an 8 firepower attack. And again, we'll roll to see if the Soviets use their Niet card. An even would be a yes. And it's even on a 4, so they use it, and the airstrike is canceled. So that negates the card, and we move on. So the movement here, I can still do opportunity fire, I would assume, with this guy, so that's what I'm going to do. Do I want to do that? Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually not going to do it because I want to assault. And you'll see that develop in the next turn here. So he moved, and now let's see what else we want to move here. Okay, we're going to take these 2 here, and we're going to move them up onto the hill. That's only 2. So that would actually allow them to do movement fire. And so they'll take a shot at our Panzer III, although he gets to do opportunity fire first. So it's a 2. And he's got 4 armor. That's a -2. They're adjacent, so we're going to get a column shift over to 0. So we're going to roll in the 0 column. And we get a 7, which isn't a great roll. But here's the 0 column. And a 7 is 1 hit. So we roll 1. A 4 will negate. And it's a 0, so it is negated. So he gets a fired marker. And he gets a moved marker. And we move on to our next Soviet units. I'm not going to move these 2. I'm not going to move him. So we're going to have to head down to the other side of the map, actually. Actually, no, you know what? I have 2 units, as I mentioned, out right here. They're not going to move. They're holding an objective for me, so they're going to stay there. They're 2 T-70s, not the most powerful tanks in the world anyway. So they will be done, and we will move on to the German movement phase. Okay, so we are obviously at the bottom of the map here, and we're going to advance because I want to take this, and I'm also going to come around and flank these guys. So the way elevation works is they're on the big hill, which you can only see a little bit, kind of a bulge of it right here. They're not going to be able to fire down until we get to the same elevation as they are, and vice versa. So we're going to move. These guys have 5 movement. This is a Panzer IV. This is clear terrain, essentially. 1, 2, and so now here he's in line of sight. He's got green range, so his range shoots out to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can shoot at him, but if he waits a little bit longer and assumes he's going to get closer, that might be a better shot. So that was 2, 3, 4, 5. So now he will take his opportunity fire shot at our Panzer IV. So we have a 4 with a +1. So we're going to add, I'm sure you can't see that. Come on. There we go. 4 +1. So +1 on the die roll, which is actually worse than, since low is better, a plus is a negative. But they also have a 4 -1 on the armor. So we're going to have a die roll modifiers that basically cancel out. So it's 4 and 4, so that's 0. And the distance is 2. So that is no shift because it's greater than short, which is which is 1 for these guys, and less than normal, which is 3. So there's no column shift for that. So they're rolling on the 0 column. And the die roll modifiers cancel out. We rolled a 1, which is a very good roll. A 1 on the 0 column is 2 hits. So the Germans have 2 hits. They will roll. They get a 3 and a 9, so that is 1 hit. They disrupt our Panzer IV. Right? Is that right? I screwed that up. And I just realized it. So we have a 4, and a 4 is 0. But we get a 2-column shift because we have a second unit firing. So that, what did they roll? A 1? They rolled a 1, and in column 4, that's actually 4 hits. So let's roll 2 more dice. And it's a 7 and a 6, so that's actually 3 hits. So he actually eliminates this. So we eliminate that Panzer IV. So he's now fired. We can remove the disrupted. So I had to adjust there, and that was not what I was hoping would happen, but you take what you take, right? So let's move our big boy up. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Our Panzer VI Tiger is there now. Now these 2 Panzer IVs, it costs 2 to go up, so 2, 3, 4, 5. They are there. Actually, wait. They were here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go here. This way we're hidden by the woods. They can't fire at us. They can fire at the Tiger, but his armor is an 8, which is pretty solid. Then we'll take our other Panzer IV and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody gets a moved. That guy doesn't move. Now we'll check up north. And up here we have a Panzer IV that's going to move up here. And we have a Tiger that's going to move here. Actually, no. Let's move the Panzer IV because he was here. Let's go 1, 2 to get set up a flanking attack here between these 2, and our Tiger here on this one here. So, or not, we'll see. But let's put our moved markers down so he gets a moved and he gets a moved. And that's going to end our movement phase. Nobody else can do anything. So that ends the movement phase. We go on to the... Actually, no, hold on. Movement phase. I am going to utilize my artillery barrage this time. And this time we will hit... we're going to hit the same... Because it says you can use it in the movement phase. So I'm assuming that means I can use it now after movement. So let's hit this hex right here and this one, I guess. Or vice versa, this one and that one. So we're going to do that. So again, an artillery barrage is an 8 firepower attack. So their armor is still a 4, but they're not in cover. So it's an 8 minus 4 is 4. They get a 1 column shift. No, they don't. So artillery, as I mentioned earlier, operates a little bit differently than an airstrike. Okay, so unlike airstrikes, they're not flanking and they get to use cover and so on and so forth. So there's no column shifts for being stacked together. So we are going to, we're just going to roll here. So we're on column 4 here with an 8 attacking a armor of 4. That's a 4. So we're going to, they're in the open. So we're just going to roll 1 die and they get a 9. So 9 does nothing for us because you would only get, so here's 4. The top 2, if we had gotten one of these, that allows a reduction. We didn't get that. We got a 9, which is 1 hit. And I'm not even going to roll for it because they're already disrupted and it wouldn't do it. That's the most you can do is disrupt. So now we'll do this one. This one's a little different. They have a 3 and a 4. You use the higher one, which is a 4. So we're still on the 4 column. But this T70 can be disrupted. So we'll roll again. And this time we get a 0. And a 0 is big. Is a big 5 hits. And it's got the burst around it, which means that it is a critical hit. So on a critical hit, when resolving an artillery barrage, if the attacker rolls 1 or 0 and there is an AFV in the target area, it or a randomly determined AFV, if there are more than 1, suffers a step loss. This is in addition to any other results from the artillery barrage. So we're going to roll 5. And if we get 1 hit, it'll disrupt the T70. And we did. We got 2 hits. So the T70 gets disrupted. And one of them gets reduced. So as the Soviet player, I'm going to choose to reduce the 70 because it's a less tough fighting vehicle. And now the movement phase is over and we go on to the close assault phase. So we have close assaults all over, possibly. The Soviets get to go first. So they can do 1. They have this guy here that can do a close assault because they're adjacent here and here. So the question is, which one does he want to do? Does he want to do the 2 Panzer IVs, or does he want to go in here after these 2? Now, because this one's disrupted, he gets only half of his close assault factor, which is 2. He only gets 2 because he's reduced. So that's 4. So that's the one they're going to take. So we have 8 attacking 4, which is a 2-to-1. They're adjacent, which they need to be for a close assault. So there's no column shifting. So it is a 2-to-1, no terrain benefit. And disrupted units, defend with half their close assault factor. And we're on a hill, but we are on the same level, so it doesn't matter. So we're just going to roll 1. We're on the 2-to-1 assault here. 2-to-1, a 6 is 4 hits for both. Attacker and defender, both 4. So 4 die for the Germans first. And we get 1, 2, 3 hits. So that's bad news because it's going to eliminate both of them. So the Panzer III was already reduced. he was reduced but not disrupted. The Panzer IV was disrupted. So the first hit will disrupt the Panzer III. The second one would take a step from both. So he's eliminated. Panzer III eliminated. Panzer IV reduced and disrupted, and the fired marker stays. The fired marker also goes on here, pending their rolls, because we have to roll for them as well. They took 4 hits as well. And they get 3 hits. So 3 hits applied equally is going to disrupt both. That's 2 hits. And reduce 1. So we'll do, they're both T-34s. So both disrupted and fired. So that's the Soviets' close assault. Now close assault works like fire phase. So we flip it over and the Germans get to go. And they get to do their assault now. So we're going to attack this guy, and we have a 2. We would have probably used the guy in here, but we can't. And so we're going to use our Tiger and our 4. So that's 2 and 4 is 6 on the attacker side. And on the defender side, we have 2 plus 4 is 6. They're both disrupted, so that becomes a 3. So it's 6 attacking 3, which is also 2 to 1. But they are in the forest. The interesting thing, though, is forest in a close assault, the modifier is 0. So no benefit to the defender there. But we can play the hidden minefield card, and we will. So we're going to play the hidden minefield card for the Soviet. Played by assault combat defender, shift the odds 1 column left. So that 2 to 1 becomes 1 to 1. So we're going to roll on the 1 to 1 column, and we got a 7. 7 is a 2 for the defender and a 6 for the attacker. This is big. This is big. This could be bad news for the Germans. So we're going to roll the 2 for the Soviets first. And we get no hits. No hits. A 0 and a 1. That's no hits. Now we'll roll the 6. Actually, wait. Nope, we don't have it. We're going to roll 6 for the Germans. And hope, for the Germans' sake, they better hope they roll low. And we got a 1, a 4, a 3, a 1, a 3, and a 7. That's only 1 hit. So we'll take the 1 hit and we'll apply it to our Panzer IV. And we're going to disrupt both of these guys. Or put fired on all of them, rather. Now, the Soviets don't have any other legal assaults to do, and the Germans only have 1. So they're going to do this one up here. So we have a 4, attacking a 4. Uphill, though, you know, when I used this guy, I basically blew that assault, so I'm not even going to do it. We're not going to do it. It's not worth it. So we're going to go to the cleanup phase. I will pause during the housekeeping phase just to kind of remove the markers. There's nothing really to discuss or show there, so I'll be back momentarily. Okay, so the housekeeping phase is done. So we have our, we move to the aid and focus phase, and we have the Soviet focus that we can apply to a hex here. So I'm going to just stick it with these T-34s on the hill. Just right there. Nobody else used it or needs it at the moment. Although the aid one for the Soviets, I think, is here. So these guys will be able to use it to help them recover from disruption. So that's going to be the end of turn 4. We're going to move to turn 5. The next to last turn of the scenario, I'm going to roll for initiative. So Soviets will roll first. They got an 8. That's a good solid number. The Germans get a 4. So the Soviets keep initiative for turn 5. We'll draw our action cards. Both sides only have 1 left. The Soviets have partisans, which allows them to select and discard a random card from the German hand. And the Germans have op fire. So we're going to take 2 for them, 2 for the Soviets, and done. The Germans now get overrun, triple the assault factor of all attacking AFV. Wow, that is massive. Reallocate resources, flip or place your aid or focus marker. Okay. And the Soviets get, they get the card that would make the Germans toss all their artillery cards. Kontrbatar Ogun, I guess, and sewer movement. This one's useless because we don't have any infantry, submachine gun guards, any of that. We don't have any of these guys. So I'm actually just going to toss that one because it's not useful. And we'll just move on here and get to the rally phase. So once again, the Soviets get to go first. You can see the whole board here, so I may not zoom in much in this turn just to kind of keep it flowing. Soviets get to go first. We know they're over here. We have the KV-1s, so we'll roll for them. They have the aid marker. So if we need to, we can re-roll. So we'll roll for our first. Get a 0. So the first one is good. Now we'll do the second. And the second is not good, but we're going to use our aid marker and re-roll. And I'm going to use both and try to double my odds here because their morale's only a 3 this turn. And we get a 4 and a 1. So we're going to lose the card, the chit rather, but both KV-1s, both our heavies are now undisrupted. Now we'll try the two reduced T-34s here. The first one gets a 4, so that's a no. Second one gets a 4, that's a no. So they stay disrupted. Now we'll try this stack here. 0, 1 is good. 5, the other is not. So we will say that we will always, well, I guess the T-34 stays disrupted because they were on the bottom, I guess. So now we'll go over to the German side. Oh wait, we have one more. We have these guys. So the full strength one is on the top, so he'll be first. So no for him, and now the reduced one is also a 4, so they stay disrupted as well. So that's not of benefit to the Soviets, obviously. So now we'll do the Germans. They have 1 here and 1 here. They need a 5 or less. They get a 1. So this guy is good. He is, however, reduced and sitting next to those guys, so that's probably not a good position. Now we'll try this one. And he's also good, but he is also reduced as well. Okay, so now we move on to the fire phase. But before we do that, I will roll to check to see if the Soviets will play either of these cards or both. They can be played at any phase, so I'm going to do them now after the rally phase. So we'll do partisans first, and that is even, so they are going to use it. So select and discard a random card from the German player's hand. All right, so we have 3 cards. I'm going to grab a D6, and here are my 3 cards. So we'll start at the top with Op Fire. So 1 and 2 is Op Fire, 3 and 4 is Overrun, 5 and 6 is Resources. It's a 6, so reallocate resources gets tossed. So this gets tossed because they used it, and now we will roll again to see if they use this card. And they do. So they're saying Germans, throw out your artillery cards, but the Germans don't have any. Boom. Okay, so the Soviets have no cards at the moment. And the Germans have 2, Op Fire and Overrun, which is one that was, from the German standpoint, good that they did not lose it, because that is a massively useful card. All right, so we move on to the fire phase. So the Soviets get to go first. And honestly, I'm not really sure that they're going to fire. Maybe these guys will fire at our Tiger here. They might as well. So we get a 4, and they're going to get a 2 column shifts to the right against an 8. So we're doing -4, 2 column shifts to the right. They do have a line of sight to it, barely because of this, but they do. So -4, 2 column shifts to the right makes it a 0. So they're in the 0 column. We roll, we get a 1. That's a good roll. A 1 on the 0 is 2 hits. So 2 possible hits on our Tiger, and a 7 and a 2. So they actually succeed in disrupting it. So that is actually a massively useful roll for the Soviets there in the fire phase. Because honestly, I was going to move him up and I was going to use that overrun card, and we were going to wipe that guy out and take that position. But we didn't do it. All right, so what do we want to do here for the Germans? I'm not really sure that I want to do any firing, actually. Yeah, we'll pass. Germans will pass. So again, it's 8 minus 4 is 4. They get a 2-column shift to make it an 8, and there's a -1 on the roll, which I forgot to account for. This time, it's a 9, so it's way worse. -1 becomes an 8, so an 8 on the 8 column is 3 hits. So we're going to roll 3. And they got 2 hits out of it, so that's going to actually destroy this unit. Because first would disrupt, second, because he's already reduced, destroys him. So another one bites the dust, and the KVs have fired. And the Germans aren't firing anymore, and the Soviets also are not going to fire anymore because everybody is going to set up for close assault. Or actually, maybe not. Maybe let's have our T-34 here attack this guy and see if we can knock him out. So we're going to do that. So it's an 8 and a -4. He's in forest, which again does not benefit. Actually, for fire, it might. Forest, yes, it does. So it's a 1-column shift to the left. So 8 minus 4 is 4. 1-column shift to the left is 2. So we're on the 2 column. We roll a 2, but we have to subtract 1. So it becomes a 1. And a 1 in the 2 column is 3 hits. So 3 hits again. And this time we get 1 hit. So 1 hit is enough to disrupt him, which will prevent him from participating in a close assault. So that's not a bad deal. And we drop a fired marker here. Yeah, I think that's all we're going to do. We're starting to run low on units here. We've had some attrition going on. These guys being disrupted doesn't help. So yeah, we're going to move on to the movement phase. Soviets get to move first. And they don't really have anybody they want to move so much either. Because my strategy with these two is to keep them in place because they are holding 2 objective hexes. So I'm going to leave them in place, and we're not going to move. We're not moving anybody. Now the Germans, on the other hand, will move people. So the Germans are going to move. We'll move our Panzer IV here. 1, 2, 3. We'll move this one as well. Let's do this. We're going to take this guy, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're going to put him here. And then we're going to take this guy, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not going to be a flanking attack. If I could have gotten here, it would have been. But we're still going to assault those with these 3. And then assuming I take that, I need to push up for these for turn 6, or just hold because they'll be up 3 victory hexes to 2, and that's all you need to win the scenario. So I think that's all the movement the Germans will do. Yeah. Yep. So we're going to go to the close assault phase here. And the way the close assault phase is going to go is Soviets first. So again, I'm not sure that they want to do anything. We could do this, but this would be kind of suicidal in a way. But we could try to preempt it. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to send this guy on a suicide mission, essentially. He's going to close assault our Tiger. Or maybe he should just close assault this guy because he's actually on the victory hex. So yeah, he's going to close assault him because it's only a 1. So it's 2 attacking 1. So kind of, both are licking some wounds here because he's disrupted. That's only a 1. So that's actually a 2 to 1. And the forest doesn't give you a shift in close assault. So 2 to 1, we're on the 2 to 1 odds. So let's see what we get. We rolled a 0, which is an outstanding roll. On a 2 to 1, that's 10 hits to the attacker, or defender rather, and none to the defender. And they literally need 1 hit to destroy. So I'm just going to roll 5. And we got 1, 2, 3 hits, so he's gone. He's gone. And the I mean, I could put a wreck in here, but I haven't been doing that, so technically you're probably supposed to put a wreck there. I just have not been doing it. He can also advance if he wishes, so we will. And he gets a fired marker. And the Soviets now hold 4 of the 5 objective hexes, victory hexes. They hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and the Germans hold this one, which is number 5. So now the Germans get to do a close assault, and you know what they're going to do. They will assault this guy to try and take it back. So we have 4 attacking a 2. So again, it's 2 to 1. You don't get a benefit for the forest. So we're on the 2 to 1 column, rolling a 3. A 2 to 1 column, column 3 is 6 hits to the defender and 3 to the attacker. So let's roll all 6 of our dice for the defender. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4 hits and 2 no hits. So 4 hits is more than enough to kill this guy. So he's gone as well. And they get to move up, but they have to roll for their 3 hits. So let's roll for their 3 hits. And we get 3 hits. Wow. No, 2 hits. 2 hits. So that will reduce, because the Germans have a 5 morale. So he's reduced and disrupted. But he's holding the objective hex. So that may make it worthwhile. So we have 1 more to do down here. They're going to defend with 6. The Germans are attacking with 4. 12. 12, 6 is 2 to 1. No flanking bonus, so it's a straight 2 to 1. We rolled a 1. So 2 to 1 with a 1 is 8 hits to 2. So we're going to let me roll 4 first. And we got 1, 2 hits. 2 hits, 2 negated. So 2 hits so far. We'll roll 4 again. And we get 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. So that's 6 hits total, which is with 2 in there, that's going to eliminate them. So that was a big assault for the Germans. Somebody gets to move up. We'll send him in there. They both get fired markers instead of moved. And we have to roll for our hits, and we had what did we have? 2 to roll. Okay. 2. 2. And they're both hits. So what we'll do is we'll just disrupt both of these guys. These guys are disrupted and fired. And that will do it for the close assault. Oh, wait, no, it won't. We got 1 here as well. So the Soviets are done, but we are not. So we're going to attack here. We have 4. We have 8 attacking 4. 4, 6, but they're both disrupted, so that's a 3. So 8 attacking 3 is going to be 2 to 1. No terrain. There's a lot of open territory here, open ground. So a 6 on a 2 to 1 is a 4/4. So 4 hits on both sides. Well, the Soviets can only absorb 2. And they get an 8 and 3 2s, so they actually only take 1 hit. So that 1 hit will actually, they could have taken 3. That 1 hit will reduce one of the other T-34. It stays disrupted, gets a fired marker. And the Germans now have to roll 4 as well. Their morale's a 5, so they take 2 hits. So that would disrupt both of theirs as well. And they also get a fired marker. And now, unless I want to take this guy here and assault, which would be going uphill, which is a 1 column shift, I believe, on a hill to higher elevation, it's going to be a 1 column shift. So that would be a 1 to 2 attack, and that's pretty much bad news. So I will pass on that for the Germans. And that will end the turn, and we go to housekeeping. So let's clean this up. Okay, so we get our aid marker back, and we can put this back out on the map on its 1 die side. So we're going to give it to this T-34 here because he might need it if he survives this turn, because we do need to take this hex back. Next turn is the last turn, so you have to be ready for that. So that will end the aid and focus phase. I should have put this on here because they have the aid. They have the aid counter, but that's my bad. They have the focus. So yeah, and the Russian focus, the Soviets, is on these guys. So focus lets you either try for initiative or re-roll an attack. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my focus and I'm going to put it on initiative for the Germans. And he was here, I think, or here. Yeah, he was here. So we're going to put the focus on the Germans. Right now, the Germans hold 3, and the Soviets hold 2 of the victory hexes. We're going to take this. Theirs is now a 2 as well because they didn't use it. So both sides are going to add 2 to their die roll. So basically, it negates it. But we're going to do that just to kind of keep it there. So we go to turn 6. The Soviets will roll first for initiative, and they get a 6. And the Germans now get a 7. So the Germans have initiative. Because we added 2 to both, became an 8 and a 9. Germans win. So the Germans have initiative for turn number 6. Now we'll draw our cards. Both sides get 2. So 2 for the Germans, 2 for the Russians. I forgot to use my overrun card. Dag nabbit. I could have used it with that guy. Stupid. All right. Well, if I need to take that hex back, I will have to try and do that. So let's see what the Germans drew this time. Rally immediately. Remove the disrupted marker from 1 unit. That is big. We're going to use that. Intel. Soviet player must play this turn and the next with their hands of action cards face up on the table. Okay. I already know what their cards are. And the Soviets, who didn't have any cards left, get Zarudinho. Remove the moved or fired marker from 1 hex. That'll be useful. And Partisans. Designate 1 German unit. No marker may be removed from that unit. Both of those are useful. That comes into housekeeping, though, so that's going to be one I can't use because when we get to the housekeeping phase, the game will be over because we're going to be at the end of turn 6 anyway. So it's on to the rally phase, and this time the Germans get to go first. So we'll start down here with our 2 Panzer IVs. We'll roll top to bottom, needing a 5 or lower. So first one fails. Second one also fails. So they're disrupted. Now we'll roll for our Tiger. 2, he's good to go. Now we'll roll for, and guess what he's going? Right up here. Now we're going to roll for our 2 Panzer IVs here. First one's good. Second one also good. Now we'll do our Tiger up here. Nope. That's bad. That's bad. All right. I think that's it for the Germans. So now we'll go to the Soviets. Yeah, these are all Soviets. We'll start with this guy since I have my finger on it. 3, he's good. We'll do this guy over here. Again, top to bottom. 9, no. 9, no. So they stay disrupted. And now these 2 here. 4, so no. And 9, no. So they stay disrupted. So this is kind of big up here that these 3, because there's 2 here. Oh, there's only 1 there, but he has the aid. So there's 1 there and 1 here. They can obviously close assault that. That's going to kind of dictate somewhat what I'm going to do here as the Germans. Because I do have some units that can attack, but it's going to be dicey here because they can also move these KVs up as well. So, yeah, this is going to come down basically to who controls this hex at the end of this turn. So, with that in mind, we're going to move to the fire phase. So the first thing we are going to do is, I have my rally immediately. We're going to play that to remove this disruption. Because he's only a 2 anyway. It would have been a 1, and that's a guaranteed L. What else do they have? They have overrun and op fire. So I need to be careful about what I do here. And they will get to assault first, and that's going to be big. It's still going to be really close, though. Really close. Wow. This is going to be tough. I'm trying to decide who I should fire upon here, if anybody. Actually, they're not going to fire anybody. We're going to use movement and set up close assaults and try to make sure that we can hold on to this hex. So we're going to hold off and wait, basically. So now the Soviets can fire. So they're in a dicey position too. So do you fire? Or do you also hold off for close assault? Because the best units to fire would be these guys and these two, because these are both disrupted. So if we drive this guy up here to set up a close assault, that means we can't fire him. Because if you fire him, they can't move. Same up here. If you fire them, they can't close assault either. So they're going to skip the fire phase as well, I think. Although they have this Zarudinu, actually, so we can fire. We can fire this and then remove the fired marker. So we're going to do that. We'll fire our T-34 here at our Panther. So it's 8 minus 8 is 0. And he's in forest, so we get a shift. So it's going to be a -2 attack, but we're going to do it anyway and hope for the best. If you roll a 0, you get 2 hits. So the Germans need two 5s or lower, or they're going to get in trouble here. And a 7 and a 1, so that's 1 hit, and they disrupt him again, which makes him very, very susceptible to being destroyed. So they're going to get a fired marker. We get a fired marker here, but we're going to use this card to remove it, so I'm going to take it right off. They spent that card. They have, yeah, that is literally the only fire attack they are going to do. And we're going to move to the movement phase, and the Germans get to move first. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our Tiger and go 1, 2, 3. And once he's here, he can fire on him, and so could he, but you can only do it once per hex they move into. You can only attack a hex once with opportunity fire. So they're going to fire here at this guy. So it's 8 attacking 8. So again, it's 0. And there's no cover. There's no terrain effects. So it's just column 0. Rolled a 5. 5 and 0 is 1 hit. So we'll roll 1 die for the Germans. And it's a 4, so it's shrugged off. So they get a fired marker. And the Tiger here gets a moved marker. So now we'll move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would work. Let's do it. 1, 2. Actually, they wouldn't be able to do it that way because there's 2 units in here. Shoot. I really should have put that disrupted. I sure should have disrupted that one. Oh, man, this is rough. This is really rough. Boy. Okay. Can't do it. Wanted to do it. Can't do it because you can only have 2, and stacking is all the time. So we can't pass through that hex. And if I go here, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't have the 2 to get up here. Same thing here. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't have enough to get up here. There's no way I'm getting there. With this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. He could get there. Yeah, they don't have anybody that can get to this hex. You know what? We're just going to take our chances here. I know it's not great. We're going to have to hope for a good roll, because it's not great, but we're going to just leave that there. I can use my overrun card on the assault here if I want to. I was going to move these guys out of here because I need to do something with them. So we're going to go 1, 2, and then I'm going to move one of these into the hex with our Tiger to bump up the defense. Actually, he needs to go on top. Bump up the defense to a 5. And then we'll take this guy. Now, they could do opportunity fire, but they're not going to because they want to assault. So, 1, 2, 3. So, we get a moved here and here and there. And I think that's all the movement for the Germans. And now we can do, we'll move these KVs up. So they will go 1, 2, and we're going to do opportunity fire from somebody. Well, they're disrupted, so they can't fire. So we're going to do opportunity fire from our Panzer IV here. So they're at short range. So we get a column shift for that, 1 shift to the right. So it's 8 minus 8 is 0. 1 shift to the right will make it a 2. So we're going to fire, and the reason we're going to fire is because I have my op fire. I have my op fire card. So that allows me to fire and not change my fired marker status. So that will still allow them to participate in the close assault. So we're on column 2. We roll 1 die. We get a 3. A 3 on column 2 is 2 hits. And we get a 6 and a 7. So that is 2 hits. That's going to disrupt both of those tanks and prevent them from participating in the assault. Massive, massive win there for the Germans. Okay, so the Germans, that's the Soviets' movement. The only thing is, do I want to move these guys? I can move one of them. I could move one of them. But I could also wait, because if they assault here and win, they can assault there and take it back. That's the smart move. So they're not going to move. Although they could move and still do that, they're just going to stay right there. Yeah, they'll just stay right there. I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, essentially. These two aren't going to do anything. So we're going to go to our close assault phase here. Close assault phase. This is going to be it. This is all the marbles right now. Now, the Germans have initiative. They get to go first. So who do they want to attack first? It's probably going to be here. Right? Probably going to be here. Because I could also do a spoiler here and try to break up this guy. He's got the aid marker, I believe, right? Yeah, he's got the aid marker. Because if I could do that, then they'll be assaulting. If I can disrupt him. So we're going to assault this guy, and we're going to do a flanking, because we're going to do it with here and with here. So that's a 4, and then we have a 4 as well over here. The disrupted unit can't participate, so that's 8 attacking here against a 4. It's flanking, so we get an additional column shift to the right. So 8 to 4 is 2 to 1, shifts to the right, becomes 3 to 1. If I roll a 0, I eliminate them outright. And I rolled an 8. So an 8 is 4 hits to the defender, 3 to the attacker. So 4 hits. And we get an 8 and 2 3s. So that's 2 hits. So that is going to do what I needed to do by disrupting him and reducing him. So that essentially did accomplish what I wanted it to accomplish, mostly. The Germans would have preferred to eliminate him entirely. But this is why the order of the assaults matter. Because now they have to assault this. They have to assault it with this guy, and it's going to be a 1 to 2 because of the fact that they have a. Oh wait, I didn't do the roll for the Germans. So they took 1 hit. So we'll disrupt the Panzer IV because he's not in the most important hex. Okay, so that takes care of that. So now the Soviets get to choose what they're going to assault. They can assault here, try to preempt that, or they can take this, try to take this one. All right, so we're going to attack here. So he's a 4 attacking a 5, basically, because they're 4 and they're 2, but disrupted, halved, becomes 1. So it's 4 to 5, and you round down. So that becomes a 1 to 2 attack. So a 1 to 2 attack is really hard to pull off, but they have to do it. And they get an 8, and this is going to be terrible for them. So that's 1 hit to the defender. Guaranteed they're not going to take the hex, and they take 7 hits themselves. So 1 hit for the defender, It's an 8, so it is a hit, which is going to disrupt our Panzer IV as well. He's going to get a fired, but he has to. Let's roll and see what happens here. So we take 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. That's all. He's gone. He's gone. No need to put a fired marker there. That basically guarantees the Germans win. The Germans will now do the assault here to see if they can actually pick up the 4th victory hex. Might as well play it out. The Soviets are done. The Germans just won the game right there. So we have a 4. They have a 4. It's 1-1. There's no adjustment for the forest. It's a 4. A 4 and a 1-1 is 3 for the defender, 5 for the attacker. So let's roll 3. And we get 2 hits. 2 hits. So that will, so that actually, they're not going to take it. They're not going to take that hex. And now we roll the 5 hits for our Tiger. One more. And they take 2 hits, so they would get reduced and disrupted and fired as well. And that is going to do it. So the game is over. The scenario is done. And here's our situation. We have the Germans own 1, 2, 3 victory hexes. The Soviets own these 2. So it's a 3-2, which would be a victory for the Germans, but of a pretty marginal variety. So if we look at our scenario booklet here, so whoever controls the majority of victory hexes at the scenario's conclusion wins. 3-2, the Germans win. It was close, kind of a nail-biter. Yeah, the opportunity fire here proved costly, maybe. Maybe. Actually, it probably wouldn't have mattered because that guy being forced to fly solo because we disrupted these 2 on the German side, that really flipped the game by doing that, because they would have otherwise probably captured that hex, and then they would have won. So that is how it, and again, I forgot to use this. Forgot again. So, see, I always forget the card. Always forget the card. If I played this on here, just for argument's sake, because he was not reduced, he would be a 4. He was also a 4. So that's 1-1, but you triple that to a 2, it becomes a 3-1 attack. A 3-1 attack, I think I rolled a 5 or a 6, which would have been 6 hits to them and 2 to him. Probably would have been enough to actually take that. He would have had to retreat at the very least, so we would have captured that and actually would have won 4 Germans, rather. I keep saying we, because I feel like I get attached to both sides, but anyway, 4-1. It would have been a 4-1 for the Germans instead of a 3-2. But a win is a win, as they say. And that is that. So I hope you got something out of this. I really enjoyed this game. This game is a lot of fun. And if I have time, I will do a scenario from Tracks in the Mud, only because it's fun. And you know what? Down the road, I'll probably do one on it anyway. It just might not be part of Flying Pig February, because I do want to get to some of these other games that I'm planning on featuring this month. Armageddon War, Old School Tactical, perhaps something else, Crowbar maybe, something like that. Night of Man maybe, something along those lines. One of those is getting in there maybe, hopefully. So for now, I'm going to sign off. As usual, my usual little spiel here at the end. Please like, share, and or subscribe if you are a subscriber already. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. But that is going to do it. My name's Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered. And as always, thank you and happy gaming.